Handoff Adrian up the middle, room to the 20, cuts to the left to the 25, and Adrian's loose! He splits the defense! 50, 40, 30, goodbye, baby! Touchdown!
We bleed purple, and our bones are gold. Hear the horns coming out of our dome, behold. We are Minnesota Vikings fans. We love when a player scores.
Hey there, everyone. You are listening to the Purple People podcast. My name is Kyle West. I am accompanied, as always, by the one and only Adam Carlson. What's up, sir?
Good day, everyone. If you're listening, thank you. If you're not listening, then go eat a bag of dog poop.
But if they're not listening, how are they going to know that you just said that?
Exactly. They won't know I told them to do that, so that's my plan. Let's go right to the quick hits here, and then we'll have a nice talk about the coaching staff, because that is what today's episode is about. But before we do that, like always, and like once I forgot, the title and number of the episode. This is episode number 88 of the Purple People podcast, and it's 500 Days of Zimmer. I'm hoping it's more.
I hope for a little bit more than 500. Hopefully in couple more than a couple years, but at least a couple Super Bowl titles finally.
And if you've never seen the movie 500 Days of Summer, I recommend it. Good flick.
That's the one with Adam Sandler.
No, that's this one's Joseph Gordon-Levitt and what's her name? The girl from New Girl.
Zoe.
Yeah, Zoe Deschanel.
Deschanel. Yep. I thought of that. Isn't she in Cloverfield?
I don't know.
I don't remember. We could turn this into a movie podcast.
Yeah, it sounds like it wouldn't go over too well, though. So instead, let's talk about Matt Castle, who voided his contract with the Vikings. That leaves Christian Ponder as the sole quarterback on the Minnesota Vikings roster.
I almost did a spit take, Adam. You were waiting right until I took a drink of my orange juice tonight to say that.
Your orange juice looks very green.
The bottle itself is green.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, you might want to check that orange juice.
Yeah. Are we surprised that Matt Castle voided his contract?
No, but I do think that Minnesota has a chance to sign Matt Castle back on a different contract with more guaranteed money.
He wants money. He wants to be paid more like a starter. You look at someone like Matthew Hasselbeck, who was paid more money than Matt Castle to be the backup to Andrew Luck. And, Castle was actually starting for the Vikings periodically throughout the season. So
once in a while.
Yeah, but depending on which week it was at the time.
When he drew the long straw, it was his turn.
It was his turn. So I'm going to assume the Vikings are going to want to bring him back, but you never know how these things are going to work out. Maybe there's some other team that's interested in acquiring Matt Castle. We all know how bad the free agency pool is for quarterbacks.
He should be the top free agent quarterback available.
I still think Michael Vick would probably be more interested than Matt Castle, but it's basically those two, and then a pretty severe drop-off of talent underneath them.
McCowan's probably next, and then we kind of really dive.
Yeah.
So
you get into like Vince Young territory.
The Vikings will be looking to add a young quarterback in the draft. That was said in an interview by the new offensive coordinator, who we're not going to name yet because we're going to do that in a little bit here.
Mm-hmm.
Our other quick hit, we only have two. Don't know why, but I guess it's the off-season. What can you expect?
Off-season, small shows pop up every now and then.
Aaron Henderson, Minnesota Vikings linebacker, was released.
Former Minnesota Vikings linebacker Aaron Henderson.
This saves over $2 million against the salary cap, and it should be used to bring in, hopefully, some more talent. We'll see.
Yeah, and I was always kind of 50-50 on Aaron. I could see the team, like I said previously, maybe I could see them interested in bringing him back and kind of seeing, competition. Maybe he would have been a later cut, during training camp or preseason. But I'm actually not really all that shocked that they just got rid of him right now. New coach, new staff, wanting to kind of weed out some guys and send a message to the locker room and to the younger guys that say, hey, we're not going to tolerate the off the field stuff. We're willing to cut ties with the veteran, so keep your nose in line and, play hard. That's the message they're sending to the team.
Yeah, with Henderson's problems with the law and him getting beat out for the position by Audie Cole, and then with his contract being over $2 million, it was kind of a given.
Yeah, it just doesn't add up.
No. So let's go right into talking about the coaching staff. We are going to make this a pretty short show, like I said. No point in dragging on. Hopefully we'll have a little bit more when free agency hits or we get some more news from something. In the meantime, we're going to talk about coaches.
We are. We're going to start from the top with the new head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, Mike Zimmer.
That's right. He's the man that this episode is named after. Former defensive coordinator of the Cincinnati Bengals. Helped them along to have one of the top defenses in the NFL. Helped develop a lot of players with character issues, like Adam Pac-Man Jones, Vontez Burfict. So hopefully he'll be able to come in and help turn this Minnesota Vikings squad into a defensive contender.
Yeah, and I remember when we were talking about the prospects for the coaches on a few shows back, I remember being kind of about the prospect of Mike Zimmer at the time, but now that he's on the team, I've had a chance to listen to him speak, I've done a little bit of research into him. I actually really like the hire, and I'm glad that they've done it. I think you got a head coach he's been around the league for a long, long time. He should know how to handle players. He's definitely going to have a handle on the defensive side of the ball, and as you'll see, he's brought in the right kind of coaches on this staff to handle the offensive side. He's made it clear that he's the head coach of the team.
Absolutely.
He doesn't want to just be a defensive coach with no responsibilities on the offensive side. Like, he's going to have his stamp on the team. I do think he'll be more focused on defense because that's what he knows. But like you said, hopefully he can get the most out of talent. Guys like Chris Cook, which I've read, that there's the potential that the Vikings may be bringing him back. So we'll see. I know, we'll see.
We had a nice argument about that last week.
We'll see what Zimmer can do if they do decide to bring someone like Cook back to the team.
Absolutely. And you saw, when we were talking about the head coach prospects, Zimmer was my number one guy. I mean, he is the exact opposite of Leslie Frazier when it comes to his fire and emotion on the sidelines. You are not going to see Mike Zimmer standing there stoically watching plays. No. When a player messes up, he'll be over on the sideline in his face, but he's also the kind of guy that celebrates victories, whether they're points scored or good plays. So he is the kind that will praise as well as admonish. So Zimmer, I think, will be an excellent guy to have running this team.
I think so too. And after the Super Bowl, it's like you remember hearing that the Broncos offensive coordinator, what was his name, Adam Gase. Adam Gase, and then the Broncos get completely shut out in the Super Bowl, like what they did. And I almost hate to say it, but it's like you could almost see the alternative reality where the Vikings made the wrong decision and hired Adam Gase, and we were just shitty for another 3 years underneath him.
No.
And it's like, wait a minute, maybe we got the right guy. And I know that we haven't done anything yet on this team, but it really does feel like we got the right guy in place, don't it?
Well, Zimmer did bring some guys in, and let's talk about the three coordinators. We got two new faces. One face stayed the same. Let's talk about the offense first, because we already discussed that a little bit. And that is Mr. Norv Turner. You might remember the name from his time in San Diego, maybe last season with the Browns, maybe a long time ago with the Washington Redskins. I don't know.
I believe did he spend some time with the Miami Dolphins?
That I can't tell you. I'm only sure of the three I named.
Yeah, I think he might have been offensive coordinator for a season for the Dolphins.
Oh, yeah, he was.
Because he worked with Ricky Williams, so that would have been...
He also worked in Dallas.
Yes, he was with Zimmer in Dallas, right?
Yes.
Yes, okay. That's where the connection comes through on those two, I believe.
So Norv Turner will be brought in, and he is known as an offensive genius. He loves to stretch the field. He gets the most out of his running backs by removing players from the box. He loves, as if you've read my article that I wrote for the Viking Age today, he wants to get Adrian Peterson the ball in space, which means screens possibly, swing passes, getting him the ball without directly handing it off. Something that fans have been waiting for.
After every point that you just made, I wanted to do the Daniel Bryant yes. Because that's what Vikings fans should be doing right now. Just big yes chants. North Turner coming in. This just good things wrote all over it.
I admit, when I heard that he was a prospect to come in as offensive coordinator, I thought it was a bit of a pipe dream.
Me too. No way, he's not going to come to Minnesota. That's what I thought. Like, no way in hell North Turner comes to Minnesota, right?
Right, I thought it was, you know how Vikings fans get on forums?
I know.
They want all these guys that are just completely unreachable, like, I want the ghost of Vince Lombardi to come out of the
fuck
grave
him, it's a Packer.
and come back and coach this Vikings team. But I guess I never really realistically thought that Turner would accept that position with the team, and now that he's here, I'm excited.
I know, the first time you've seen him in purple with Minnesota Vikings logo on him, it's like, wow, this is really exciting for Vikings fans that we've got North Turner. Here's what I'm looking forward to seeing. What he can do with Cordero Patterson, because I think that will be fun, and how he gets the ball in the hands of Adrian Peterson. Now, I don't think that we should expect him to be used like, you know how Marshall Faulk was used back in the day, where he would catch a lot of passes? That's not going to be Adrian's strong suit. And I know he gets knocked a bit for his ability to catch passes, but I do believe that Adrian, he can be used more, and he can be more of a threat in the passing game than what he's been allowed to do previously. And I think it'll be, you find a way to get him the ball in an open space, and that's going to lead to good things happening more often than not.
Like I wrote in my Viking Age article, just the threat of being able to do that and have those plays drawn up is enough sometimes that maybe if you play action and you hand off the ball a lot, maybe defenses might think, well, maybe I shouldn't commit to this run because maybe it's a play action and we'll throw the pass out there.
Yeah, and it's just stuff that I'm looking forward to is 3rd and 15. And the Vikings would call the stupidest play. They would throw a 3-yard screen pass. And it's like everyone in the stadium knew 3rd and 15, just punt the ball. Just punt it, because they're not going to draw up any kind of creative play. It's going to be the dumbest thing you've ever seen. Hopefully now we won't see that kind of junk. We can see guys like Cordero Patterson continue to develop. We can see someone like Jarius Wright get used to his full potential. And that's going to only help Adrian Peterson. The more they can get going on offense, the more that's going to pull defenders back, and it'll let him get rocking and rolling.
And another thing to not forget about Norv Turner is now the Vikings have a guy on the staff that can help evaluate quarterbacks coming into the draft. And Norv Turner, he isn't going to be the kind of guy to sit back and let other people dictate what the best guy for this team will be. Turner will be there. He will say what he wants and see what he likes. And Turner could be a huge part of this team finding its next quarterback, whether it be through the draft, free agency, or if for some reason they decide to stick with number 7.
Yeah, I know we have a lot of coaches to cover, so I don't want to spend too much more time on this, but there is a quick thing I wanted to hit you with here, Adam. Are they going to stick maybe with Ponder, now having a whole new coaching staff? Maybe they try to see what Turner can do with him in, off-season, preseason training camp. And then if it doesn't look like it's working, maybe they cut him in, your 4th preseason game, closer to that time.
Turner's already gone on record as saying that he likes a lot of the things that Christian Ponder can do. And there are some really positive parts of his game.
There is.
But I don't see Norv Turner realistically going forward with Christian Ponder as the starting quarterback. I could see him bringing him in for competition for these young guys, but I think a lot of it tends to go with if the Vikings can pick up a decent backup veteran to help these young guys that they're going to pick up come along, because you got to expect to see at least 3-4 quarterbacks, maybe even 5 going into training camp.
Mm-hmm.
So let's move over to the defensive side of the ball here, and let's talk about their coordinator, George Edwards. Not a name that a lot of people are probably familiar with, but a guy that is willing to buy into the Mike Prefer philosophy. Together, they should be able to work and develop a really good defense, possibly moving away from the typical cover 2 and being something a little bit more aggressive, which could help out a lot of players in this scheme, particularly Xavier Rhodes
Mm-hmm.
and Harrison Smith. Both are very physical players.
Yeah, let's let them get up there and be physical and get them play to their strong suits. From what I've listened to George Edwards speak, I really like him. I like his philosophies that he's been talking about. When he was asked directly, what are the Vikings going to do? They're going to run a 3-4 or a 4-3. And he said something, I'm going to paraphrase here. It was to the effect of, I'm not worried about scheme. I just want to get players in the best position possible to succeed, and we're going to play situational football. And that means we're going to be unpredictable on defense, and we're going to have sub-packages that are going to come in and out on the field based on what's going on. It sounds like they want to keep the other team's offenses guessing as to what we're doing on defense. And that, to me, is exciting.
It is. It's good to see. Something different, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
The last coordinator that we have to talk about, special teams coordinator. This face has not changed. Mike Prefer. He's currently amidst a little bit of drama, but hopefully that'll boil over soon.
I don't buy into that drama too much. So I'm glad Mike Prefer is back.
I think he's an excellent special teams coach. He's worked well with Cordero Patterson and the special teams defense. And I'm really excited that he's back, and I'm glad that they didn't decide to cut him based on this
silly accusations made by former players. We both talked highly of Mike Prefer. I know all last season we would rag on pretty much every coach on the team other than Mike Prefer, because it was always like Prefer's had the one unit last season that seemed to always be consistent and be playing the kind of ball they should be playing. So I'm glad to see Mike Prefer back. I think it'll be after a couple seasons he will probably move on to be, I don't know, offensive coordinator or whatever, but he'll take a higher up position on someone else's team.
Yeah, he'll be a candidate
after a couple
somewhere
seasons. He'll be a candidate.
Advancement.
Yep. So
Definitely.
I think we're lucky to have him on the team. Smart move to keep him on there. He'll work great under Mike Zimmer's new regime here.
So let's talk about some of the assistants and other positional coaches that have come back.
Okay.
Like the assistant special teams coach, Ryan Ficken. He's back. Defensive assistant Jeff Howard is back. The assistant wide receivers quality control Clint Kubiak is back.
Who is the son of Gary Kubiak.
That's true.
Yep. We got a couple sons of coordinators and head coaches on the team.
Tight ends coach Kevin Stefanski is back.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the only ones that were brought back. Otherwise, we have an entirely new group.
Mm-hmm.
Like assistant defensive line coach Rob Akey. Offensive line coach Jeff Davidson.
Who I hear is supposed to be like an awesome hire for the team.
I'm excited about Jeff Davidson.
I don't know a lot about him. I haven't done a lot of research yet, but that's supposed to be a name that we should be excited about.
Now, you guys have heard me raving about defensive backs coach Jerry Gray. I'm excited about him.
Mm-hmm.
Bringing in a lot of experience to work with these young guys. The assistant defensive backs quality control coach will be Jonathan Gannon. He worked in Tennessee with Jerry Gray, so they've got that experience there too. We got a whole unit coming over. Excited to see that.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting is both those guys are from Tennessee, and rumor has it that there's a cornerback from Tennessee that the Vikings might be after in free agency. So let's just keep our ear to the ground on that one.
We'll save that one for when we get to more of our free agency shows.
Absolutely.
Yep.
The new defensive line coach is Andre Patterson. The former Yale outside linebackers coach Drew Petzig is the new coaching assistant. We've got George Stewart handling the wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
Scott Turner handling the quarterbacks.
That would be the son of Norv Turner.
Sure is.
Mm-hmm.
New running backs coach Kirby Wilson from the Steelers.
Got a pretty easy job, coaching Adrian Peterson.
I don't know, he might be bringing in a young guy or maybe even someone from the practice squad. So
yeah, actually, come to think of it, I forgot about Gerhardt and him probably not being on the team. So yeah, he's got an easy one with Adrian being the top guy, but he does have, as do the rest of the Vikings coaching staff, they've got to kind of figure out what they're doing with number 2 and number 3 backs below him this season.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
And the very last coach on my list, linebackers coach Adam Zimmer.
The son of head coach Mike Zimmer.
So that rounds out our coaches. Sounds like a pretty solid coaching staff for the Minnesota Vikings coming into the season. There's a lot to be excited about here. Now it's time to focus on free agency in the draft, bring in talent to let these guys work with.
Yeah, and I was just talking with my friend Mike yesterday before Walking Dead came on. We were talking about Vikings football, and like we were saying is that this really feels like the first time in a long time, dare I even say since that 98 coaching staff, that it looks like, at least on paper right now, that we just have talent up and down on every position coaching-wise. It really seems like they got the right people in place. Now, we'll see how it pans out. Just because it looks good on paper doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate onto the field. But obviously, fingers crossed by everyone that it does, and we can be good.
There's a lot here to be excited about.
Mm-hmm.
So Vikings fans, be proud of your team for bringing in a lot of guys with experience, with fire, with heart, and just overall a coaching staff that can help raise this team to the next level.
And I believe that this is a roster that has a lot of talent on it that wasn't maybe getting put in the best of positions last season, wasn't getting played to their strong suits, like you said, with guys like Harrison Smith and Xavier Rhodes being so physical of a player, and then not really being put in situations that play to that physicality as best as what they could, or it taken half the season for them to figure out that Cordero Patterson's a pretty good player. Just stuff like that. And so I do believe
Cordero Patterson's a pretty good wide receiver. We should play him sometime this year.
Yeah, maybe we should play him over top of Joe Webb. I'm excited to have, in theory, the staff in place that's going to get people out there right away in the best possible position in ways to succeed, and I think we can have success in 2014 for the Minnesota Vikings.
Definitely, and that's all I have for this week. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, I don't. I think that will pretty much do it.
All right, on that note, I'd like to thank everyone for listening. Check out Kyle on Twitter. It's at Purple People Pod. Check me out on Facebook, The Viking Age. Read my stuff there. And thank you again for listening, and remember, stay classy, Minnesota.